Welcome. This is our Afterthoughts segment where we stick around with some of our guests that we've had on the program and have a little more conversation. This is only seen on the website, so stick around and hopefully you'll hear some interesting things that you didn't see on the television program. Today with us we have Kathy Leonard, the CEO of Auburn Manufacturing, Beth Sturdivant, President of CCB Inc., a construction company, and Wendy Newmeyer, owner of Balsam Fir Products. So, thanks for sticking around. This is great.
Glad to be here.
You are three of the first group of 6 Women to Watch designees for Maine Biz in 2009. This is the first year they're doing that, and we hope it will be an annual event. So, first of all, congratulations on that. That's a terrific honor, and I'm excited and honored to be here with you. So, this is our Afterthought segment, so we don't, everybody's watching on the World Wide Web, so just relax. You can say anything you want. Don't worry
let
about
our hair
it.
down.
Yeah, just let your hair down. So let's talk a little bit more. We talked about, we asked a lot of questions about what it meant to be a woman business leader, those kinds of things in Maine. But one of the things we didn't talk about on the show was kind of that leadership style or the way women manage.
Right.
Talk a little bit more about that. Are women and men different in terms of their management styles? Let's ask that question first, and then we'll ask what's the difference and what's good or bad about it. So, are they different?
Yes.
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 I guess so.
Yes, I guess so. Okay, so what's the difference?
Well, this is my, it's not even original, but
Okay.
I did read it at one point that women tend to manage our management structure. We work better in a web format than we do in a pyramidical, format. So, in other words, the usual hierarchy doesn't fit us. And in other words, we like flatter organizations. And that, when I read that, I was like, oh my God, that is me. I like to be at the center of everything, but I don't need to be at the top of everything. And that's the basic difference.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Don't need to be at the top of everything. I prefer.
Mainly males tend to that preferred kind of top-down management style.
Yeah, very kind of hierarchical.
Sure.
I'm the boss. You're my second in command, and so on and so forth.
Right.
I think that I like a flatter organization. I happen to have just wonderful people, fabulous, very competent people that work for me, and I let them do their jobs. And hopefully I'm communicating with them when they need the touchstone back or they need to kind of run it up the flagpole. That's when they're going to come and counsel with me. But it's pretty collaborative. Set the expectations.
Have men who work for you in key positions, your kind of lieutenants? See, there I go using the the lieutenants under you, so to speak. Have they commented to you about that, about the different styles, and what have they said about it? They said that's a great things are good, or
they don't comment.
Okay.
I deal with a lot of introverts.
Yeah.
I mean, typically. Engineers, project managers they're a very introverted bunch, so they have to think about all these things before they want to say them, and so they've never commented on that way. But I think it's a style thing. It really is. And I've worked under people who were entirely the opposite of what I was. I had the opportunity to have a very good mentor very on in my career, who was an older man, who just was like, I don't care if you're a woman or whatever, you can do this, you're good, and that really gave me a lot of chutzpah, if you will.
Okay. You said you had some
well, I do,
stories.
because some of our folks have come from competitors, and they've come to work for me, and they're just amazed.
Right. And this is
I have a new VP of
manufacturing
manufacturing who's worked in other manufacturing environments and under other CEOs, my counterparts in other companies. And he just kept waiting for the other foot to fall a lot of times, and he's like, I can't believe it. It's so different, and it comes back to what we talked about, a holistic approach.
Okay.
I think I'm able to deal, maybe it has something to do with childbirth, I hate to say it, but, we tend to, women can live with a lot of pain, and I just don't react as quickly as maybe a male CEO might, and especially especially entrepreneurial people, because sometimes entrepreneurs can be kind of, they're a little more mercurial, and I'm not. I'm able to put up with it. I don't react immediately. I lay back. I think about things, and then I come back and try to take a measured approach to problem solving, because it's all about, getting, you've got a big ship here that you're trying to get through the waters, and you don't want to be moving too quickly to make things
Well, it sounds to me, from a Business 101 standpoint, the kind of management style you're describing is that's the preferred management style for successful companies now.
Well, it seems to work,
it is
yes.
more collaborative.
As evidenced by us being
It's
here.
a flatter organizational structure.
I'd prefer to work under something like that, so I'm kind of maybe hoping that those that work for me, and I think it's working. So.
Okay.
Yeah, in fact, that's how we created the company, was what kind of a company do we want to work for long term.
Okay.
And I work on the floor with my crew every single day. I do not work in an office. Because I am an entrepreneur, I tend to like introverts to work for me. I do like being the boss. I think that's why I started my own company, because I realized very, very early on that I might not do so well in somebody else's organization, and so for me there was no glass ceiling at all.
I know what you mean. I'm the same way. Yeah, great. I wanted to ask about, do a little bit more follow-up on Maine, and we talked a little bit about that in the regular segment, but also one of the things that Maine is, as I mentioned before, is it is a small state, it's a rural state in many cases, and can be kind of traditional, but also has some progressive sides as well. Tell me more about that. The experience in Maine have you run into any of that kind of gender issues in Maine as far as being leaders, especially in kind of more, you're all three in more male-dominated types of businesses, construction, manufacturing, and even kind of the woods, forest products kinds of things as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, talk to me about that.
The question is, have we run into roadblocks?
Yeah, I guess so.
I wouldn't say that I've run into any roadblocks. There have been very, very few times in my career when I've, walked into a meeting or walked into something and someone, the recognition goes off. Oh, okay, this is a construction company. This is a woman who was at that time I was a vice president of operations, and running the operations. Well, what does she, you can sort of read, what does she know about construction? So very, very little, very little.
So maybe my question is more about that, about being in male-dominated kind of.
I think those situations, just as you described it, are fleeting, because I've experienced it too. And what I've always come away with is, as long as you know your stuff, which you obviously do, I tend to like my technical, the technical parts of my product. They are technical in nature. And I'm good at that. I'm good at explaining how they work to people who might not understand. They might not know. They just have an application that requires heat-resistant textiles, but they don't know how to, they don't know how your products would fit their needs. And so in that process, I tell you, every time I've reached that, you see sort of a roadblock, and you can kind of tell that people are looking at you like, she just, what is she doing here? And then pretty quick, they're like, boy, and I've had a lot of people tell me this over the years, boy, you really know this stuff. And it's like, okay, I do.
I did have the benefit of reading your profiles, and one of the things that they said that you were quoted on, the question was when they gave you that question about what was your haven't we moved beyond this moment, they asked that question. You said it was fairly recent. My 32-year-old business development manager was given more credibility in a meeting with the client because he was male.
Yeah.
So some of that still
it
does
even
experience.
happens, and I'm 57, so and luckily it's amusing to me now,
Good.
and I know I can get even if I want to, but
So you can actually use that with the client.
I can. Well, that might alienate the client, but hey,
Right. Okay. Good. I wanted to ask a question about: are there any natural advantages, I guess, as women CEOs, entrepreneurs, business leaders that you may have that men don't have in terms of running businesses, access to capital, or are there disadvantages? I mean, have you run into any of that? Capital, venture capital, loans, government programs, those kinds of things?
I haven't really had any experience with any of those things, so I really can't speak to that. I'm well aware of the fact that Maine has some wonderful programs for women, though, that maybe other states haven't really explored. And I just feel that women in this state at this time are really at an extreme advantage.